here we go. We are on page 103 of The One and Only Bob. Walls and Bad Guys. Julia takes me out of her backpack, and I settle onto the wide stone wall. It's my fave place on the planet, because it means I can see Ivan and Ruby, but I also kind of hate it. Walls will do that to you. So, do you think Bob likes walls or hates walls, based on what he just said?
Hates walls.
Hates them. Ivan, being Ivan, is a mellow kind of guy. He takes the good with the bad, only gets angry when he really needs to. And when I complain about the walls at the park, he says, walls keep the animals in, but they also keep the bad guys out. So, does Ivan necessarily hate the walls in the same way that Bob does? No, whereas Bob sees only bad, Ivan can see some of the good, right? Because he sees how the walls are helping to protect them. Of course, gorillas don't have a lot of bad guys to deal with. Elephants either. So humans step in to fill the void. Dogs, sometimes it feels like we have enemies galore. Everyone wants a piece of us. Humans treat us badly. Cars really have it in for us. We even get eaten by coyotes, which is kind of like having your cousin invite you over for dinner, but then inform you that you're the main course. Although I'd probably just be the appetizer. Anyways, after those 27 years stuck in a mall, Ivan is one of those glass half full kind of guys when it comes to the walls surrounding him. He's glad to be with others of his own kind and cared for by smart and loving humans. I'm more of a water bowl of power half empty kind of guy. Every time I leave Ivan and Ruby, I'm painfully aware that I can leave. Ivan's address is Gorilla World. Ruby's is Elephant Odyssey. And me, I guess my address is the same as Julia, George, and Sarah's, 1249 Hinman Avenue. I mean, of course it is. I've been living there a whole year now. It is. And yet sometimes I still wake up at night and think, gotta find shelter, gotta find safety, gotta find somewhere to belong. I guess I don't want to get too comfortable, so pause. So we agree that Bob views walls as a very negative thing. He thinks it's infringing on their freedoms, right? Whereas Ivan can see the good. He's, what was it called? Glass. What was it that Bob just said? He's a glass half. Not glass half of water. Glass half. Caden? Glass half full. Have y'all ever heard that saying before? So let me draw this out for you. The way glass half full works is, imagine, my markers are behind the phone. There is a glass on a table. This is a very badly drawn glass. This is why Miss Brandon teaches ELA. And it was like this. Now, and this is how much water is in it. Would you say that this glass is half full of water or half empty of water? If you think it's half full, raise your hand. If you think it's half empty, raise your hand. So they say that that's kind of the difference in being optimistic versus pessimistic. Remember, we've talked about the fact that optimistic means that you look for the good in everything, right? And so it's saying, instead of saying this is half empty, well, you got half a cup of water, so it's half full. Whereas they say the pessimistic, which is the opposite of optimistic, it means you look for the more negative side of everything, would be that, I'm missing half a cup. Not that, hey, I do have half a cup. Does that make sense? Okay. And at the very end there, where he was like, my home is where Julia lives. It is. Does he sound like he believes it or that he's trying to convince himself? Convince himself. Because think about Bob's life. Everything good that he has eventually does what? It eventually runs out and it goes wrong or it collapses up under him. And he said at the very end, I guess I don't want to get too comfortable. Why might he not want to get comfortable? Sailor?
He doesn't know if they're going to raise him again.
Yeah, just doesn't know if he's going to be left alone again. And he'd rather not attach feelings because once you have feelings and then people let you down, what happens? You wind up, Sailor? Sad again, hurt again. And he doesn't want to feel that way again. Page 107, gift. Once I'm in my spot, I don't have to do a thing because Ivan and Ruby always know that I'm there. Gorillas and elephants have great schnozzes too. Also, I pride myself on staying extra fragrant. It's a gift. Ivan, page 108. Ivan gets to me first. Bob, he knuckle walks up the hill. Knuckle runs, actually. And he looks as glad to see me as I am to see him. It seems like I've known Ivan forever, and yet every single time I see him, I feel kind of odd. He's so powerful, so huge, like the magnificent silver mountain that just happens to be my best buddy. What text feature is that? Eli? Why?
Because it's like comparing like
Ooh, you said the word comparing, so would that be personification? No, Caden. Did you just say personification again? After I just said that's the wrong answer? Sammy? Simile, why?
because it's using light.
And what are the two things being compared?
Ivan and a silver mountain.
Ivan and a silver mountain. Hi, Ivan, Julia calls, waving. He cocks his head and makes a soft belch, which is gorilla for I'm happy. Maya calls out to Julia from the door to the gorilla's indoor space. Maya's a zoologist, which is a hoity-toity way of saying she has a thing for animals. When did we learn what was Maya doing in the last book? Remember, we read about Maya in the one and only Ivan. Emily?
She was the one who got Ivan and Ruby against the box to take to the zoo.
Yeah, she was the main zoologist who came and helped move them. She was the one that was trying to clicker train them. It was Maya and a lot of other good folks who helped get Ivan and the rest of the mall animals moved to better places. Julia unhooks my string and gives me a stern look. No funny business, you, she says, and then she kisses me on the head and stay out of sight. Ivan sidles up as close to the stone wall as he can get. I was worried you wouldn't come today, he says, weather and all. Another hurricane, I say. It's freaking everybody out. Above me, magnolia branches sway, leaves rustle and shiver, even the trees seem uneasy. What's new? Ivan asks. He lies back on the grass and wriggles contently, scratching an itch, no doubt. Not much. I had a weird dream last night. I pause. You were in it, and me, and Ruby, and Stella too. Ivan gazes at the darkening sky. Stella, he says. Now there was a great friend. The classiest elephant you'll ever hope to meet. The best, I agree. I miss the old gal. We fall silent. All good with you? I ask after a moment. No point in dwelling on sad stuff or bad dreams. Kenyani's getting on my nerves a bit. Ivan do this, Ivan do that. But she means well. Who is Kenyani? Do we remember? Ace?
The other gorilla.
The girl gorilla, yep. Kenyani is Ivan's lady friend. Girlfriend? I've never been sure what they call it in gorilla. Kenyani doesn't really approve of me. She thinks I'm a bad influence on Ivan. I like to think she's right. Ivan is 400 pounds of pure power, but Kenyani is 400 times scarier. Trust me, I've seen her in a bad mood. I've also seen her teeth make mine look like toothpicks. Ivan and Kenyani don't have kids, but there are a bunch of baby and juvenile gorillas hanging around. They call him Uncle Ivan, and he puts up with their antics. Ivan's always been a good sport. If I had a gorilla toddler hanging off me, I'd be tempted to use my toothpick teeth. Marriage. Ivan and Kenyani are a lot like George and Sarah, as far as I can tell. They grumble, they cuddle. They help each other, they tease each other. Sometimes it looks pretty nice. Still and all, when I smell love, I almost always smell worry. Seems like they're tangled together so tightly they'll never unravel. There's a reason I avoid all that mushy stuff. One big difference I have noticed between the two couples, Ivan and Kenyani, enjoy eating bugs off of each other. George and Sarah, not so much. So what are your thoughts on the idea that love and worry are tangled together? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are y'all's thoughts on that real quick?
I agree. agree.
You agree? Why do you agree? When you love somebody, what does it lead you to do inevitably? Caden? Worry about them because you want what's best for them. You don't want them to be hurt. You don't want them to feel any bad feelings because you love them, right? And so it's not like you're all the time worrying, but inevitably you got a little bit of worry there for them. And I know that none of y'all can obviously relate to this because y'all don't have kids. But I don't have kids either, but y'all are like my kids. And I do genuinely, like over the weekend, like this weekend, if there is snow and we're stuck at home, like I will worry and hope that all of y'all have power and that you're doing good and that you're safe and that you're warm. And I'm sure that you have friends that you can relate to that about, right? Where when you just worry about them, if you know that something's going on in their life that's stressing them out, right? I guarantee you that every day when you come to school, your mom and dad love you enough that they worry about you just a little bit, okay? So that's what he's meaning by they're tangled together. Now, is that a bad thing or a good thing? That's up to you. Let Haley and Carter. Page 113, tiny but tough. Ivan always seems like nothing scares him. Not even Kenyani, who scares the heck out of me. Page 113, Haley. On the outside, I suppose that's how I look too. Tiny but tough. But inside? Well, sometimes no matter how hard I try, I can't find that guy to save my life. It's like he's cowering in some corner of my heart. I hate it when that happens. I hate that I'm not the guy my friends think I am, the guy the world expects. I keep waiting for things to go bad on me, worrying that my nice, tidy little dog life will blow up in my face. I think George is a worrier too. He'll get up in the middle of the night and head to the kitchen sometimes. His old slippers scuffing on the wood floor. I always hear him, always join him. When he opens the fridge, the light spills out like maple syrup on a hot pancake. What text feature is that? Eli? Simile, why? And what are the two things being compared? Emily?
A hot pancake and syrup.
Well, not a hot pancake and syrup because it's a way that two things are doing. Syrup is one of the things that's being compared. The way that it spreads onto a pancake is being compared to what, Ace?
The light.
And how it does what on the floor? If it's how the syrup is spreading on the pancake, then it's how the light is spreading on the floor. There we go. Wonderful scents drift my way. Leftover meatloaf, stinky cheese, expired yogurt that someone might as well eat. And it seems like the dog is the safest bet. The smells rain around me. And oh yeah, my tongue starts hanging out. And I nudge George's PJ'd leg. You can't sleep either, huh? He'll say. Or maybe, I can't tell if you have insomnia or just a very acute sense of smell. Both, actually. I wait. He usually makes himself a PB&J with banana, which is good with me because the crust are where you really get that fun chew factor going. Now and then after we eat, we sit on the back porch and George scratches my ears, especially my right ear. It's my favorite. I understand his worry. I think George works so hard. His wife was really sick for a long time. Y'all remember that at the end of the one and only Ivan? That was why George couldn't risk losing his job because Sarah was so sick and she couldn't work. And he loves his daughter so, so much. Sometimes when Julia climbs on the school bus, I'll watch George watching her. All that caring and concern, it's painful to smell. Especially the briny scent of the stray tear he'll flick aside with the back of his hand like a sea spray. More than once, George and I have dozed off together. That's the best kind of snooze, if you ask me. Good, warm, safe in someone's arms sleep. Not talking. Often when I'm with Ivan, we don't even bother talking. We just look out at his domain and the green grass and the crazy babies and the swaggering juveniles and the hard-working females, and we think of nothing and everything. When you've been through the worst with someone, you appreciate the best. That's why sometimes when he says, "Hey, Bob," it's enough for me to say, "Hey, Ivan." And then we just listen to the palm trees rustle and watch the saw grass sway. Brave, page 117. Once when we were still at the mall, I told Ivan how brave I thought he was. The way he put up with everything that had happened to him and had never stopped being a good guy. Ivan just looked at me, cocked that big old head of his, and nodded a bit. "That's not brave, Bob," he finally said. "That's just knowing what I can't change." "I call it brave," I said. "I call it crazy brave." Ivan held a browning banana up to the light, like it was the most beautiful thing that he'd ever seen in his long gorilla life. I wondered whether he was going to eat it or draw it. You never know with Ivan. "Seems to me there were a lot of ways to be brave, Bob," he said. A tiny mouse, name of Eek, skirted across his cage floor. "Hey, Eek," said Ivan. "Just checking for crumbs," she said nervously, because she always sounded nervous. "Dibs on all leftovers," I reminded her. She looked so terrified that I relented. "Over there, behind the old tire, old Carrot Top." "Respect, Bob," she said, scampering off. "Take a small creature like Eek," said Ivan. He scratched his chin with the end of the banana. He did that when he was in a philosophical mood. Maybe brave for a mouse is different from brave for me or brave for you. He looked at me fondly. "You're the bravest dog I know, pal." "I ain't brave." I chewed on my tail, avoiding his gaze. "You are, Bob. Untamed and undaunted," said Ivan, and he chomped off a hunk of banana. He offered the rest to me, but I shook my head. I wasn't feeling hungry. Also, it was mostly just peel. "That's just my shtick, my routine," I hesitated. "I mean, sure, I'm tough compared to, say, Eek, but that's setting the bar pretty low." "You're too hard on yourself sometimes, Bob." I met his eyes. He has these dark brown, deep-set eyes, the really kind ones. Eyes that make you want to admit things, confess to your failures. Once when I was a little, just a pup, I did something. Ivan waited patiently. Ivan is the king of patience. I felt myself dashing into a dead-end tunnel. I couldn't escape. I didn't want to go there, not even with Ivan. "Never mind," I yawned. "I do that when I'm anxious. I'm rambling." "Bob," Ivan said, "you okay?" "You know me, Ivan. I'm always okay. Well, always." I slipped away before he could ask me anything more. Heads are up. Page 121. Ruby. "Uncle Bob!" Ruby races over. Galump, galump. What are those two words? Galump, galump. What text feature? Everybody. Way to go. Across the broad field that's part of the elephant domain. She's so cute when she runs, like she's determined not to trip on her trunk. Ruby adores me. I make her laugh, I read the room, and I lighten the mood. I gotta admit, I am kind of adorable. When I'm with Ivan, I think, "Pal, we've been through a lot, you and me. We are survivors." When I'm with little Ruby, I think, "Girl, look at you. Hard luck passed, and here you are, much happier. So loved." Ruby, like Ivan, was plucked from Africa as a baby. She ended up in a circus that went bankrupt and then got shipped off to Max Mall. Ruby was taken in by dear old Stella, and when Stella passed away, Ivan stepped in to play. Well, elephant dad, I guess. I did my part too. Not 'cause I felt like I had to. It just made life easier. Elephant toddlers are a handful. You think humans are bad? Try putting a 200-pound baby elephant in timeout. 123. Ruby's family. Little Ruby seems much more content at the park, surrounded by her new herd. Old and young and in between, they spoil that adorable pachyderm like you wouldn't believe. She deserves every minute of it. Kid had a rough start. So it seems that elephants hang out in packs of females. Now that she's at the park, Ruby has adoptive sisters and aunts and grandmothers galore. In the wild, the elephant guys head off once they're old enough and do their own thing. Sometimes I lose track of who's who among the elephants because they're always taking mud baths, scrambling their smells. By the way, What kind of animal actually likes baths? Mud? Sure. And that's where we're going to stop on page 124.